We started a number of years ago using the GCI as our MBA, Masters of Business Administration students entered the university. They're working professionals who go to school in the evenings or on the weekends and work during the day. So people who often have a great deal of experience working across cultures, but have not had formal training on cultural differences or understanding global competencies. So we have used the GCI as they come in within the first few weeks that they're in their program to help them to see where their strengths are and where there are potential areas for opportunity for them to focus on over the course of the program. Because our program is so globally focused, we really want our students to graduate having not only a macro global perspective, but also understanding themselves in the context of cultural competence. The GCI has been a primary tool. We've also used the IES, which of course is somewhat smaller and simpler to administer for some of our students at the undergraduate level, particularly with undergraduates who are going to study abroad or who are going on a trip with their professor to study in another country. And that can be very helpful as well because it gives them some sort of, really what it gives them is a neutral language for talking about what they're experiencing that's not judgmental, but that's more exploratory and helps them to contextualize the experiences that they're having and where they're succeeding at demonstrating global competence and where they might be struggling to do so. There is a neutral language for talking about global competence, that it's not, we don't talk about things like cultural stereotypes or the ugly American or those kinds of things, but we talk about differences in skill sets in addressing cultural differences and in rising to the challenge and the opportunity of working across cultures. And I really like having that language because it allows people to talk in terms of skill development and in terms of growing competence rather than talking in terms of negative judgments about things that people may not already be doing or may not be particularly skilled at. I think also the ease of administration and the simplicity of teaching a relatively complex set of constructs has been really helpful because I know that I can take it to a group of students, whether they're undergraduate or graduate students, 18-year-olds all the way through working professionals, and I can teach it to them in a way that they can access, that makes sense to them, and give them a report that allows them to take something away that they can read later and perhaps understand even a little bit more than the way that I might have explained to them in a workshop or in the classroom. When I think about the GCI and I think about our students trying to work across difference, whether that's by traveling internationally or by working in multicultural teams within the programs or within their work environments, one of the things that I think a lot of them realize is that they may overuse some competencies in a way that undermines their success. For example, on the GCI, one of the competencies that our students are at risk of overusing is self-confidence, that perhaps they can come across as so self-confident that they are help rejecting or not allowing other people to join the conversation or to provide guidance to them. Another one that really seems to hit home for our students is emotional resilience. And that there's value in building emotional resilience as a means of navigating the uncertainty that comes with working across cultures and working with people or groups who are different from you. So I think that some of the things that I find, for example, are when I travel with groups of students to Latin American countries, there is a need in many cases for a tolerance of ambiguity that my students don't practice a whole lot because in their American educational environment, there's not a lot of ambiguity. Things are very clearly laid out and structured for them. And then you go into a culture that's perhaps a little more, a little less linear in the management of time and a little more relational. That introduces ambiguity that students need practice at. If they're only sitting in their home environment, they wouldn't even realize that they need tolerance of ambiguity. But when you start to introduce them to different environments, they start to realize the need for that. And those are moments where being able to talk about it, being able to reference a report that says, here are some ways that you can develop this competency, here are some tools that you can use, or even just here is what you can expect because of where you are right now on this competency scale, that these are the ways that you may be challenged so that you can anticipate it going into the new environment. I think that the students have found that really valuable and have had some great moments having discussions with one another because they have this ability to talk in a shared language about what they're experiencing. Both the IES and the GCI are clearly oriented toward working across cultures and working in international environments. But even among the faculty here, because we have actually had all of our faculty go through the Global Competencies Inventory, there are folks who are not working in what we would traditionally call a global environment, but day to day are exercising global competencies and using them to be more effective in teamwork with one another. And so I think that we don't need to limit our thinking to traveling internationally or working with someone who comes from another country to get value from the global competencies. I think that they can be used in our day-to-day interactions anytime that we're working with someone who has a different perspective or comes from a different discipline or a different mindset. These same skills can be very effective. So I think that one of the things that I've found value in is casting a wide net in terms of the application of global competencies so that we're using them day to day and practicing for those moments when it becomes very important because we're in a culturally different situation.